I think this sort of idea of how do you build context-specific interventions for a community, right? So the core to that is people that live there, people that are living within these communities, know their context and their need greater than anyone else, right? I can't go in there and prescribe what's needed, and that's core to what we do, and that's that concept of co-design. Secondly, is this context of being sort of context-specific intervention. So understanding that there are specific characteristics of an area that make it more or less viable for a specific intervention, right? So once you have gone through the social mobilization element, you've gone through a full enumeration with the community, where that enumeration looks at spending patterns, it looks at income, it looks at currently service delivery levels, it looks at skills levels. We're able to take that data and combine it with a sort of typological approach, where we look at what characteristics exist within that community that would make a specific service work better, for example, rather than another one. So a very practical example, I will use Witstrand. Witstrand, although seen as one area, is actually 12 individual settlements that are run and function quite differently, separated on racial and language lines, and each of them have very individualistic needs, right? Some are electrified, some aren't, some receive waste services, some don't. But the combining and unifying element was this area lighting and this Wi-Fi access. And being able to find that element that works across all of them was the real big win within that element.
If I can just add on to that, because actually this really speaks to the importance of co-design and this asset-based community development support that we're trying to encourage in improving that access to basic services and informal settlements. That co-designing is really the act of working with people rather than for people. And as Jack said, these communities know their context better than anyone else from the outside ever could. So it's really making use of those assets and working with them to help them articulate what their needs are. Things that we would be able to see on paper might look exactly the same from one community to the next. In fact, it's true of the communities that we've worked in. On paper, they are very similar. 60% of the people don't go to school, don't work. 80% of the children don't go to school. And all of these things are the same almost throughout all three of them. But if we were to put the same solar home systems in Witstrand, it would not have worked because of the community dynamics in that place. The Wi-Fi might not have worked in another community because their needs were really for that home level electricity and perhaps for cooking before it got to that level of needing Wi-Fi as an example. So there's all these intangible aspects like social cohesion, perceptions, cultural beliefs that actually most likely vary quite significantly between one community and the next. So trying to understand what interventions would be suitable and also sustainable in a community you can only find that out by actually engaging with them directly. And it really empowers them to make their own decisions and to encourage that community buy-in, which is super important for the longevity of any of these projects.
Maybe it's just a quick practical example. So in Witstrand, there is very limited waste services that are offered, right? So there's centralized collection points and that sort of stuff, but often it doesn't work as well as it should. So when going in as an external, our perception was always, right, there's going to be a demand for alternative waste services, and starting to engage with the community. And from the sort of engagements, it became very clear that there was zero demand for waste services and also zero demand to pay for alternative waste services. And burrowing it down a little bit deeper to that, we realized that a lot of the community members depend on the EPWP program, which provides temporary jobs to collect waste in that community. And their worry was if an alternative services were offered, those jobs would be lost. So understanding those type of dynamics is what makes ASDU so much fun and such a challenge.